So it was another loss again for the Jaguars, but I really think this was probably a pretty positive one. I don't think many people expected the Jaguars to play as well as they did against the Patriots. The number one offense in the league held to only 23 points, which is really encouraging. Darryl Smith was back in the lineup. It's hard to say that he was the only one that made this difference, but it was clearly a defense that looked much more like the defense from last year than the defense that's in the bottom 5 of the league this year. For the Jaguars particularly, Henne, he started off pretty strong, had a good start to the game, had 3 interceptions in the second half, really derailed the Jaguars offense. It wasn't a terrible game for Henne. Well over 300 yards passing was one of his more prolific performances, like the Texans game, but couldn't get the points on the board, and that's really what it comes down to. The defense, though, is really the most encouraging about this game. Not only was Darryl Smith back in action, but we saw Jeremy Mincey have one of his best games opposite Jason Babin, who was they both provided consistent pressure, and even Tyson Alualu had a pretty consistent game of pressure. So the defensive line had some pretty encouraging looks. The most disappointing part about this week, obviously, has to be Cecil Shorts, for me at least. Was only 22 yards away from being the first Jaguars receiver since 2005 to break 1,000 yards, and had a massive hit to the head that knocked him out of the game, and I'd say will probably knock him out of next week. But really, what's more important other than the 1,000 yards is really just getting healthy. We've seen with Clint Session what can happen with multiple concussions, so that's 2 concussions for him this season. I'm guessing he's done. Laurent Robinson had a few concussions this year, so hoping that those guys come back concussion-free and ready to go by next season. That's absolutely something that we'll hope to see. For right now, the Jaguars lost again, so they're still tied with the Chiefs for the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, and they clinched a top 2 pick. The rest of the teams behind them have 4 wins or more. So it's going to be the Chiefs or the Jaguars. The Jaguars cannot catch the Chiefs in the strength of schedule tiebreaker. So the only way that the Jaguars can get the number 1 pick is if the Chiefs win next week against the Broncos and the Jaguars lose against the Titans, both of which are up in the air. The Titans got absolutely throttled by the Packers this week, and the Broncos likely won't be resting their starters. A lot of people are hoping for that, but they're going to be in a tie. They're probably going to be in a tie for the top spot in the AFC, assuming that they can beat the Browns today. So if they're tied for that top spot in the AFC and they have the Patriots just behind them, they could be anywhere from clinching home field advantage throughout the playoffs to not having a bye week at all in the playoffs. So they definitely need this last week win against the Chiefs. So I would be shocked if they sat their starters. There's just one more week to go. Enjoy the last week that you can, because the offseason is going to be a long one. We are just about a week away from seeing the entire team get turned over, starting probably with General Manager Gene Smith getting fired. So enjoy this one last week you can, because I promise when June comes around, you'll be willing to watch high school football if it was there. So one more. Let's beat the Titans. The Titans are always fun to beat. It would be nice to sweep them in a season where everything went wrong. And if you're curious, I am wearing a Mark Brunell jersey. I decided to go with the throwback. So this is Adam Stites. Tune into Big Cat Country. We'll have more talk about the draft, about the offseason, about Gene Smith, about, regrettably, Tebow. And keep on and subscribe to the YouTube channel, because we'll continue to have video breakdowns of everything Jaguars.